Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of 8158 Stories of Sacrifice. In today's bonus episode, we're turning the mic back to the host himself, Rico. Since sharing his powerful story in episode 1, a lot has happened. The podcast has grown, the mission has deepened, and the impact is bigger than he ever imagined. Rico reflects on what this journey has meant so far, shares some of the most unforgettable moments, and opens up about what's next for 8158. If you've ever wondered what drives the voice behind the mic, this is the one to hear. Let's get started.
You're listening to 8158 Stories of Sacrifice, where we honor the bravery of the first responders and the families who stand behind them. Real people, real stories, real heroes. This is 8158. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of 8158 Podcast Stories of Sacrifice. Today's guest is going to be, guess who? That would be me. My beautiful, once upon a time was fiance. Now she is my beloved wife. We tied the knot and we got married June 29th. So, yeah, we are now hitched together. And let's please welcome my beautiful wife, Brianne. She's going to be spearheading the interview, and we're going to be discussing a lot of things about the podcast and how we've kind of gone from the beginning until now.
Hi. How's it going?
Hi, honey. Um, so you're going to go ahead and take over the interview, and I'm just going to let you go ahead and, spearhead this, and don't go easy on me.
Okay, well, let's get started. Um, First of all, congratulations on 6+ months of success with the podcast. It's been an amazing, wonderful, crazy, busy journey. So, congratulations on that. It's been going really well. And we've had a lot of loyal listeners and followers. And yeah, so things are going well. So, let's start with reflecting back. Since launching the podcast, how has the experience been for you personally?
It's definitely been an amazing experience. It, it's something that I just never thought I could ever imagine. We started off just wanting to shed light to spearheading a podcast that delve into the mental health aspect of first responders. And, we didn't know this in the beginning. That's something that that was the common theme that just kept coming up. So, um, we kind of rolled with that. And it's personally been a great experience, not only to just honor my cousin's sacrifice and just to honor his memory and his legacy, but also we've made a lot of good friends along the way, and their stories have been so impactful to us. We're still in contact with some of them, and we talk to them some on a regular basis. Um, you know, it's just been a great experience, and it has its ups and downs, and it's not all puppy dogs and sunshine because we're dealing with a lot of emotional and traumatic stories. Um, Sometimes they're hard to listen to, but I just got to swallow back the choking feeling and try to help these people as much as I can. But it's been an emotional ride. It's been a happy ride. We've had some laughs, some tears, and it means a lot personally, because there's a lot of people that reach out, and there are, a lot of amazing, amazing first responders that, I am very proud to have been able to interview and have been honored to interview not only just first responders, but veterans as well, and hear their stories and their sacrifices and some of the things that they've gone through. And it's just been amazing.
It has been. So what would you say has surprised you the most about starting and running this podcast?
Just the success behind it. I just never imagined that we'd have so many episodes come out so quickly. We went from doing just one a week to having to do, you know, release 2 episodes a week because we had so many. Um, and just hearing the amazing stories from such wonderful people who, give their lives to their communities and to their country, just being a part of that, and knowing that I am trusted enough for them to come on here to tell their stories. It makes me feel good as a person, and it helps me grow as a person, and it helps me connect with these people. Um, and it's just amazing, and it's inspiring as well. It surprised me that it's just kind of gone from one little thing to something that has, gone on for 6 months. I mean, we've had 40 plus episodes in 6 months.
Yeah, it's been amazing. It's been busy and a whirlwind, and I just never, I mean, I guess that's not true. I did tell you from the beginning, I think this is going to be something. And you were like, oh no. So, I mean, I'm not surprised, but also I am because it's just taken off. Like, so it's just been so crazy.
Probably even
So,
more than what you expected.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it really has. I mean, it's hard to keep up sometimes, you know. So,
Right.
but so you kind of touched on it a little bit, but how has the response from listeners and the first responder community been, and how has that impacted you?
It's definitely had a huge impact on me. Hearing their stories, and, I'm the kind of person, I guess you could say I'm an empath, because I feel a lot of their emotions, and I have to try to suck it back and try not to get too over emotional. Although a lot of the stories are very emotional, and, dealing with those things, because I can feel what they're feeling. And, when they get really emotional and then they start to, tear up, it's hard. But, it's a safe place for them to do that. And there's no judgment. There's no, impersonal type of thing. It's just a place for them to come and relieve that stuff that's been going on inside their soul and their spirit, and they could just release that. And it's impacted me in a way that, like we talked about in the beginning, I was not a very social person. I was not very good at this when we started. I was still green. I was still new. I'm still green and new. But as time has progressed, I have gotten better at speaking with people and understanding people and having more empathy and compassion for people. Not that I didn't have empathy and compassion for people, but just more of that empathy and compassion. And,
Mhm.
you know, the impact is huge because now I feel closer to the first responder community, even though I am not literally a part of first responder community. Um, I just feel closer to it, and I want to give back more to it. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
From that standpoint, from the third party standpoint, standing from the outside looking in, it's like saying, "Hey, we're here to help you."
Yeah. Yeah. So let's move on to some powerful moments. Who has been your most impactful guest so far and why?
Oh boy, I mean, we've had so many impactful guests that it's hard to say. I know one person that comes to mind is Anthony's story. I mean, that one just made me cry because of the last thing that we talked about on the podcast that pretty much kind of ended his drive for his career, and that was, the story about having to basically find those two children in that pond. You know, that was a very impactful story. But we've also had other types of impactful stories. Positive ones, like we talked to Michael Segru, who wrote the book, and we talked to Captain Madam Myers, who had a tragic situation happen, and he struggled with a lot of things, and he overcome those things, and now he is a captain of a police department. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, we talked to other like EMS. EMS Barbie. She is such an amazing person. Uh, she's such a little firecracker, and also a little pater tot.
Mhm.
Throw her out there too. She's a little firecracker too. But all of their stories are just so impactful, and I don't want to overshadow any of our guests because a lot of their stories are so impactful. We've done a lot of episodes with other organizations and have tried to get their stories out there and do ads for them, you know, which are very impactful because they're helping other people. They're helping
Yeah.
first responders and they're helping veterans and so on and so forth. So that's kind of been a great thing for us to come across and to help other people in that manner. Uh, I hope we can do more, which I'm pretty sure we will in the future.
Mhm. We
But
definitely will.
yeah, it's been great. I know we just spoke with AJ. Her episode just dropped not too long ago, and her pediatric stories are just so sad. I mean, it seems
Perfect.
like all the pediatric stories are sad. We talked to Redbeard the medic and a lot of guys that have dealt with a lot of traumatic situations, and I mean, I just can't specifically pick one out
Right.
of all of those situations. But
Right.
one stands out is Anthony's story.
Right. Now, aside from Anthony's story, is there another story or moment that stuck with you after the episode aired?
Um, you know, like I said, just going back, it's hard to say that any episode is going to stick with you. Uh, there's so many, and there's so many sad but great stories, and a lot of like we talked to Chris Ballard about his situation and the fact that he had overcome a lot. He's a corrections officer down south, and he's dealt with a lot of uh, issues as far as not diseases, but you would call them
Disabilities.
disabilities. Yes. So he overcome a lot of disabilities, and he's doing a fabulous job uh, with his department and working in the jail as a corrections officer. So um, I think it's just fantastic that is what he's doing.
Hmm. I would say for me, something that stuck. There's two actually. One of them, Matthew, only just because he's local to us, and
Yes,
so
Matthew,
we
definitely. Charlie.
so we hear a lot about him in the news and what's going on with them locally. So I think him and Charlie and his medically fragile foster kids and now adopted kids um, has definitely been one that's stuck with us, and we've seen progress over time with what's going on with them right now. And then also Sarah Butler, of course, hers was definitely tough because it was 6 months after Billy had passed, and uh, just hearing how she was grieving and dealing with that situation, and just how the community came together and just really rallied around her and the kids, and it was just so wonderful.
Yeah, that one was personally tough for me because that was really close to home because that was my blood.
Right.
That was my cousin by blood.
Right.
And you know, growing up with them as kids and you know, I seeing pictures of us together as, just young kids and yeah, that was very hard. And
Yeah.
especially not only because of that, because of the kind of person that he was. He was such a great person, an awesome person.
Yeah.
That was a very
Yeah.
hard episode to do for
It
me.
was. Yeah.
And it was like the second episode we did, the first
Right.
guest, second episode.
Yeah.
And that's what I had to cut my teeth into, was that episode.
Just throw you to the wolves right away.
Right. That was the first one that we had to do. And that was probably one of the most hardest ones I had to do, because that was my blood. That was my cousin, somebody that I loved and respected.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
what this podcast came about. It was about him.
Yeah. So, to kind of piggyback off of that, we've talked about in the past that you have to just be very careful to not take that stuff in, when you hear those emotionally tough things. So, how do you prepare after you've done a pre-interview with someone and heard their story? How do you prepare emotionally to then go in and interview them?
I just kind of mentally prepare myself. I try to remember and remind myself that this isn't my story, that this is somebody else's story, and I cannot take it on. I can't take all these on myself. Um, I'm just a catalyst or just a release for them to let their stories out, and I can't internalize their stories as much as I want to, because that's the kind of person that I am. But it is hard because I'm kind of an emotional person. I run on my emotions, and it's hard to deal with that. But I do go over their questions, and I try to, you know, not really desensitize myself, but to try to empathize, but not get overly emotionally involved with their stories, no matter how hard they are. I
Mhm.
know like we did some pre-interviews where I had, like, when we talked to Matthew, and I started to tear up and cry about that situation. It was hard. It was
Mhm.
hard to listen to that,
Right.
because I just felt the anguish, the pain that they were going through, you
Yeah.
know?
Well, and with the pre-interviews, we don't know what they're going to say, and so you can't really prepare.
Right. So I guess that's part of the preparation, is to kind of, get to know them and to prepare that way, and then kind of have the questions lined up so we can go over it. And then that way I'm ready and I know what's coming. So I know when to hold back my emotions
Yeah.
and try not to get overly emotional. And it's
Yeah.
hard, because, when your guests are crying, you want to cry with them.
Yeah.
But I try to stay professional and strong for them,
Right.
just to kind of give them a shoulder to say, hey, it's okay.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's talk about growth and purpose. How has hosting this podcast changed you or deepened your connection to the first responder world?
I think we kind of touched on this a little bit previously. It's definitely changed my way of thinking about, the first responder world, in the manner of how much they actually go through. Because the normal person doesn't really think about the things that they actually go through. We don't think about the hundreds of calls they have to deal with on a regular basis, or how many calls they deal with in one day, how many traumatic events that they have gone through in their entire career. Uh, we don't think about any of those things. We don't think about the mental health aspect of it. We just see that these guys are our heroes, and they're out there to save us, and they are just the greatest people in the world, which they are. They are the greatest people in the world. They do a job that they love. They serve their communities. But there's another side of it, the side of the mental health aspect, and the side of the traumas that they go through, and the things that they deal with on a regular basis, that, they need help. They need our help. They need our guidance. So that builds a connection with me, because I feel like I'm here to help them through my cousin, because my cousin was that same kind of person. He was there to help people. I mean, even if you were arrested or if you were an inmate, he was there to help you. Especially if you're a first responder, he was going to be, your guide, your guiding spirit, I guess, in a way, whether he was alive or now that he's passed. I guess his spirit, just like people would say with Christ's spirit, anything's possible. I think that we're kind of living in my cousin's spirit to connect with our first responders and to uh, help them.
Yeah.
That is our purpose. That is our drive. That's what we're going to do.
Mm-hmm. This question, I would say, is probably for both of us. What has been the most challenging part of producing the podcast?
Oh my gosh, the most challenging. Um, Aside from just getting people to schedule and come on and stuff like that, it's just figuring out what content that we can put out on the social media sites and what we can't. I know that you deal with that on a regular basis. My challenges are trying to figure out, like when we do the ads or something like that, figuring out what type of music I need to produce for that, whether I do it with the guitars on my personal end or actually play them, or if I have to do it with with the app, GarageBand, and using some of those instruments to add with the instruments that I play with, or vice versa. Um, I think most of it is like on your end as far as the production side.
Yeah.
My editing, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of editing issues that we have to deal with. Like we had the feedbacks and trying to figure out how to re-edit the feedbacks, try to cut those out, all the static and anything that happens, or cut some pieces and parts out of it that you know shouldn't be there.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of a struggle for me because I have to go back and re-listen to every single episode and relive it all over again, which it doesn't bother me and I don't mind because that's what I'm here for. But having to sit hours and hours to do it, I mean, it's a challenge. And then having to re-edit everything, and then if you hit the wrong button or swipe the wrong way, then your computer just automatically goes back to square one. Then you got to do it all over again. I'm like, dang it, what happened? Now I was almost done.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
almost done with this dang thing, and now I got to do it again.
Technology is frustrating sometimes. I would say for me, the most challenging is when we get really busy because we have to keep up with everything, especially now that we're doing 2 episodes a week. It can be really challenging to, okay, well, did we finish editing that one? Did we download the audio for that one? Did we get it, merged together so that we can post it and get it, posted in time? And so when we get really, really busy, if we fall behind, and then it makes it that much harder to catch up. And then also I would say just trying to juggle our day-to-day lives with getting people scheduled for interviews, and how challenging that can be because we only have a certain amount of time, in a day to be able to get things done. And, so unfortunately that means we have to do stuff late into the night sometimes and then go to work the next day. And but it's been very rewarding, but it is challenging sometimes to try to juggle those two things.
Yeah, working a full-time job and then having to do this, not having to do this, but having the drive to do this and
Yeah.
helping people. And not only that, I don't know if that's in here, but not only that, we're not only doing the podcast, we do have a foundation that we had started, the William H. Bill Butler Foundation, or William H. Bill Butler Jr. Foundation, that we had started, which we are trying to get funding for. And we are it, making merchandise on top of that, on top of doing the podcast. So we have green for military, we have the golden color for the dispatch, and we also have blue for law enforcement. We have the red for fire. We have the white for EMS. We have the what are the gray for corrections.
And the orange.
We have different types of shirts. We have the orange for search and rescue. We also have black shirts that either have the transparent flag with all the designations on them. We also have the black shirts with our logo, as well as the saying "You are not alone." Um, if you know EMS Barbie, she got one of those shirts. She posted on that. She got one of those. We will return after this quick ad break.
The William H. Bill Butler Jr. Foundation is on a mission to honor first responders and support those who serve. We provide scholarships for families who have lost a hero in the line of duty, offer second chances to juvenile offenders who are working to rebuild their future, and help new recruits pursuing careers as first responders. Through generous donations and the sale of merchandise, we're building a community that uplifts, empowers, and creates lasting impact. You can be a part of this mission as well. Visit 8158podcast.com to donate or shop today. Together, we can support those who serve, honor those we've lost, and give hope to those who need it most. Behind every badge is a story, and behind every story is a sacrifice. This is the 8158 podcast, where we honor the lives and legacies of first responders and their families. If our mission speaks to your heart, if these stories move you like they move us, join us on Patreon. For just $5 a month, you'll get ad-free listening, exclusive merchandise, behind-the-scenes content, and video episodes only available to our patrons. This isn't just a podcast, it's a movement, and you can be a part of it. Support us at patreon.com/8158podcast. Let's continue to share the stories that deserve to be heard.
which is fantastic. I think those shirts are turning out fabulous. We do have more to put out. We do have
Mhm.
foundation hats that we are doing, so those will be coming out. So
We
it's
also
not
have,
only the podcast; we're still doing this.
yeah, we also have car decals. We've got patches. Eventually, we're going to probably incorporate some other things like tumblers, coffee mugs, things like that. So yeah, I mean, just juggling everything has been the hardest part, I think, so far, because like we said in the beginning, it's just exploded to this, like something that we just never imagined. And so, we're going to talk about this in a few minutes, but you've got something else coming up that we're working on as well. And so just between the nonprofit and the merchandise and then the actual production of the podcast, it's just been so crazy and overwhelming. And it's like, we have something that we're doing every single day, every weekend. So, but it's what you got to do to give the people what they want.
Right. Give them what they want, get them the help they need, and to make that foundation grow so that we can help our first responders either get started or to follow that mission.
Right.
So whenever anybody buys a shirt, the majority of the proceeds goes into the foundation, and the other portion goes into buying more merch so that we can create more merch to build up the foundation.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Just so everybody knows.
Yep. And you can find the merchandise on the website, 8158podcast.com. There's a little thing that says merch, and you can go on there and you can see all the stuff that we have to offer. You can just buy it right online there. We have sizes adult, extra small through 5X in the shirts. And so, yeah, you can go on there and buy that. So I'm going to kind of skip over this next question because I think we addressed it already, but what's been the most rewarding part of your journey? I think we just talked about being able to help.
I think there's more to it than that, not only just helping people, but the impact that we've had on people.
Yeah.
And, the graciousness of the people that we've had on here, and the fact that they strongly believe that we are helping save lives.
Yeah.
That this podcast is strongly needed. To me, that is so rewarding to hear that, to hear the thanks and appreciation from our first responders when we should be thanking and appreciating them. But in a sense, they are thanking and appreciating us for giving them an outlet.
Yeah.
And they tell us this is something that is needed.
Yep.
And if it's needed, we're going to keep doing it. We're going to keep getting people on here, keep helping people as much as we can. And it's been rewarding for me. I don't know if you've seen it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, you keep track of the TikTok too as well, and you listen to the podcast episodes as well. So
yeah, that we get a lot. we get comments every day on TikTok of thank you so much for doing this. Thank you for letting me be on your a guest on your show. I mean, it's just constant praises and people saying this has helped me so much or thank you so much. So it's been awesome to see.
And one more thing about the rewarding part of it is, building that connection with the first responder realm. Myself personally, I'm obviously I'm on the other side of the spectrum because I had my trials and tribulations. I've been in a lot of trouble. I did county time, I did prison time, and if you ever listen to the podcast, you can hear the story about how you know I got into a lot of trouble, and my goal initially when I was younger was to get into the military and to start my life because I was kind of lost and didn't know where to go. And then I ended up getting in trouble, which kind of destroyed that chance of doing that. But that was my goal was I was going to get in the military. I'd already went to juvenile hall, which was hard for me to get in the Marine Corps. So I was going to join in the National Guard. And then after I did my time with them, I was going to reenlist in the Marine Corps because obviously they said it was a lot easier to do that if you had military experience. Um, at that time, I wasn't sure after the Marine Corps if I was going to go in full time and just make it a career or get out and get into the first responder roles, whether it was EMS or firefighting or in the police officer, sheriff's department, whatever. But unfortunately for me, I was just a stubborn knucklehead, and I had destroyed that chance. So, in a way, this is the rewarding part of the journey is coming from that side and being able to change my mindset to becoming part of that realm because I'm helping you guys and giving back to you. So that I guess that's rewarding in a sense.
Of course,
I don't know.
absolutely.
What do you think about that, Brianna?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And we've talked about this in the past too, that everything's just kind of comes full circle for you. I mean, you had people that you didn't even realize until you started thinking about it, that how many people you had in the military and how many people you've had in law enforcement or in, some sort of first responder firefighting, what have you. So it's just kind of become a full circle thing to where, you have family that was there. You were interested in it at one time. You went down a different path, but it's all kind of led back to where we are now, which is you're now connected again to the first responder world. So it's wonderful how life throws you curveballs sometimes, but always takes you right back to where you're supposed to be.
Right. It may not be exactly what I wanted, but you know what? If this helps you guys, I'll take it. I'll be your ears. I will be your guide or whatever you want to, however you want to label it. I'll be your listening ear, and I'll be the one that puts it out so everybody else can hear it, so that they can understand you better.
Yep. Yep. So looking ahead, what are your goals for the podcast in the next 6 to 12 months?
Generally for the podcast, we're going to keep thriving and growing, and we're going to keep getting more guests on. I know we had talked to one of our guests, and he had invited me to do some public speaking in a prison. If you've ever heard the episode with Joseph and
Richard.
Yes, thank you. I had his name on the tip of my tongue and I couldn't spit it out, but yeah, Richard was a corrections officer, and he had saved Joseph's life. Joseph was an inmate. They are now friends. They do speak in prisons together, and the fact that I had been there and now have become somewhat of a successful story, they'd offered to have me come to California to be a public speaker in the prisons with them. Richard is closely involved with somebody in the DOC department there who can make that happen. So that's kind of like a goal, maybe within the next 6 to 12 months, maybe sooner, hopefully. But unfortunately, it's going to be hard because I have a full-time job, and the only way I can do that is if I retire. And I don't see that happening anytime soon, but let's hope.
Well, that's wonderful. Yes, I hope that does happen, and you're able to, impact some more people in a different way. And and again, the podcast, we're just going to keep rocking and rolling. We're just going to keep interviewing people as long as they keep wanting us to interview them. We'll be here, and I'm excited to see where we'll be in another 6 months from now. So,
Absolutely.
yeah. So, are there any new segments, partnerships, or series you're excited to launch?
Yes. Well, we did do the live with Taylor.
Tyler.
Tyler, excuse me. Tyler, do you remember what his podcast was?
Yep, the debrief with Tyler Burns.
Yep, debrief with Tyler Burns. So we did a live with him, which is pretty awesome, and we are probably going to do another collaboration with him. Also, we had a guest on here who was friends with my cousin. He does a podcast on racing. Tomorrow, I'm going to be co-hosting with him on his podcast, which is great, because he knows a lot of first responders, and he is now a certified firefighter who is now a full-time corrections officer at a state prison in Michigan. So, I'm proud of him for doing what he did. He set out to do, and uh, that's amazing. As far as partnerships, not really partnerships, but we are talking about doing some conferences, uh, some police conferences or whatever kind of conferences that may come our way. We want to try to get involved with those conferences and, hopefully become a part of the podcast row with these conferences to kind of air those live and to be able to get our name out there a little bit better and sell our merch while we're at the conferences as well, because that'll help the podcast or the not only the podcast but the foundation as well. Um, Now, as a series, this is not a part of the podcast. This is going to be something separate. Um, I will be launching here in the near future a life coaching course. Um, there's going to be several different topics, some of which are dealing with chaos to clarity to life after trauma, life beyond the uniform. Some of them will be regarding, inmates. Uh, you're just not a number. You can be successful. That inmates can be successful in life. They don't have to fall back into the same habits or patterns. That sort of thing. I know that we have other topics that will be coming out, but we will be launching that pretty soon, so people can get involved in that if they want, and hopefully you guys can get something out of that as well.
Yep, we'll be doing some promotions, some social promoting for that as soon as they're ready to go. It's going to be a digital course that will be available online. So it will be a one-time fee, and then you'll have lifetime access to that course. We are also planning on implementing possibly a Facebook community. We're not really sure how to go about it yet, but there will be a community for everybody who's purchased the course to be a part of the community. If you want to, connect with other first responders and talk about whatever it is that you're going through. And then also, I'm not sure if people have seen this already. We do have a support hotline that we've launched. It is 7 a.m. to 9 p.m., 7 days a week. It's not 24 hours, unfortunately, but we've got a good chunk of time there that if you're in a crisis or you just want somebody to listen to whatever it is that you have going on, it's completely, anonymous if you want it to be. And you can just call in and talk, or you can text if you want. And Rico will be the one that answers the phone, and he will be there to listen to whatever it is that you have to say. And that's we've just had our first call today, and so I think that that's going to be something that is much needed as well. I think that's going to take off. It's not something that we get paid for, or anything that we're tracking or anything like that. It's just for support for people to talk.
Right. So anybody, if you feel the need to reach out, the hotline number is 209-542-8158.
Yeah. So as soon as we get the digital course ready to go, we will post the link for that. And there will be several different ones available. We're planning on doing a whole series. We're calling it an academy. So there'll be a whole series of different topics, and then potentially adding on to, mini topics within one umbrella topic. So there's a lot of room for expansion within the Digital Academy courses. So I'm excited to see what that's going to do in the next 6 or 12 months as well.
Yes. I will be the one doing all of the what do they call that? The training behind it. Thank you. Yeah.
Yep.
I'll be doing all the training on that. Sometimes my brain doesn't work as well as I hope it does, but that could be the medications too. I don't know.
Just a glitch in the matrix.
Yeah, I'm always having those glitches, and I have to ask her. So she's my glitch fixer.
So how can listeners continue to support your mission and the legacy behind 8158?
You can continue to support us by either, if you're a first responder or a veteran, active, retired, reserve, whatever, you can come on the podcast, share your story with us. You can support us by going to our website, donating to the podcast, or donating to the foundation. Or maybe you can support in other ways by buying merch, so the money can go towards the foundation as well. Not only that, share the podcast, uh, share the information, get the word out there as much as possible so that more people can get more help. Uh, the more people that know, the more help that can be given. And you know, it's amazing though that when people hear other people's stories and they're like, "Hey, I've been there. I understand now," and then they want to come on. Like we had a gal that came on. She was like, "Well, I heard her story, and I know her, so I decided I wanted to do it." Which her story was just heartbreaking. So it encourages people when you share and you share your own stories, when you come on here and you share the podcast and you share your heartfelt stories, and it helps other people to come out of their shell to want to share their stories and to want to support the podcast, and not only just support the podcast but support each other.
Right. And there's so many ways that you can help support without having to, do it financially. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok at 8158 Podcast. Just giving us a follow, a like, a share, sharing the podcast itself, downloading the episodes, all of that stuff helps us. It gets us seen. It gets our name out there. So don't feel like you have to be financially, obligated in order to help. There are lots of free things you can do to help get the word out.
Yeah, you could share it with your friends, get them to listen. All those things help.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So let's reflect a little bit. If Billy could hear what you're doing now, what do you think he would say?
Well, I could just tell you that he would just say, "Thank you, brother. I am proud of you." It's that simple.
Yeah. That's all you need sometimes, So on the last note, what message do you hope that every guest and every listener walks away with?
I mean, just the message that you're not alone. There are people here to help you, and don't be afraid to reach out and talk. If it's not with us, find somebody to talk to, somebody that you can trust. Um, and just remember that there are other people like you that have suffered the same things. And myself, I haven't suffered the similar traumas that first responders have. Well, sometimes, depending, like in my personal life, I've suffered through childhood traumas, compounding traumas, and dealing with prison life and all that kind of stuff. So I have my own set of traumas that I'm dealing with. That's why I'm on medications, because I suffer from severe panic attacks, and because my body reacts to just things that just happen. Like things pop in my head and my body reacts to it. So, I can understand from that standpoint about traumas, uh, not the psychological traumas that you guys have, but it's still in the same. It's still interconnected. So I do have an understanding about that, and I can relate to that. So just walking away from this, just remember that you're not alone. There are other people out there, and we can get you connected with other people that have a better understanding. If we're not your cup of tea, if you just don't want to talk to us, we do have people that are connected. So we know therapists and counselors as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's all I have. Is there anything else that you want to talk about, or?
No, I just wanted to thank everybody for supporting us and for all of our guests that have come onto the podcast. And, I just hope we can keep continuing this on. I'm going to keep reaching out to people. I'm going to keep trying to get more stories. I'm going to keep trying to help more of our first responders or our veterans as much as I possibly can. Like she said, we're doing this on our own dime. We don't get paid. Even the foundation members. I'm the president. She is the treasurer, and her mom is the secretary. Sarah Butler, Billy's wife, she is the vice president, and we also have an auxiliary member who is on the board, and he is a friend of ours. So none of us get paid for any of this stuff. So all the money that goes in the foundation goes to help our first responders. So we've been buying all this stuff to make with our own money. So we've been working hard, and we want to make a difference. And if we can, more than just talk.
And we want everyone sporting the 8158 podcast merchandise, because that gets the word out there, and that helps other people to know who we are and to listen to us. And, also on a positive note, we've had people offer discounts when we are wearing our shirts. They say, "Oh, are you a first responder? We have a 10% discount." So, there's a plus to that too. If you're wearing the shirt, you might get a little discount at Cabela's or something.
Right. What was I going to say? I think I had a brain fart.
Oh, well. Okay. And a little glitch in the matrix again.
Oh, I remembered. So we're just trying to show our love, not just through talk, but through action. This is our action. The podcast, the merch, the giving back, the showing love and support for our first responders. That is how we are showing our love, through our actions.
Yep.
So then that's pretty much all I have to say for everybody. Again, I appreciate all of our guests, and I appreciate my lovely wife now for doing this interview.
Well, we thank you so much, Rico, for being such a wonderful host and being so kind and having so much sympathy and empathy for the guests. You're doing a wonderful job, and it just keeps getting better every time. And, we'll check back in another 6 months and see where you're at.
Yeah. Hopefully we've gotten triple that. Maybe.
Oh boy. Okay.
Let's see how many conferences we can cover.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks again, and we'll see you on the other side.
Absolutely. We also have other things in the works that hopefully you guys stay tuned so that you can check it out. All right, everybody. We love everyone, especially our first responders. Please stay safe. This is 8158. Thank you. Thank you for joining us on 8158 Stories of Sacrifice. Every story we share is a tribute to the courage and resilience of first responders and their families. If this episode impacted, encouraged, or inspired you, please subscribe, leave a review, and share with someone who supports first responders. Follow us on all social media platforms at 8158 Podcast for updates. 8158 Stories of Sacrifice is a team effort. Rico brings the stories to life through casting, writing, original music, and editing. Brianne Shipley as production manager, handling booking, social media, graphics, promotion, marketing, website management, and logo design. Please visit our website at 8158podcast.com. For questions, collaborations, or to share your story, our email address is contactus@8158podcast.com. Until next time, let's continue to honor the legacies and remember the sacrifices of those who serve, every brave man and woman on the front lines, protecting and defending us all. This is Rico signing off and honoring 8158.